Let me tell you something locals don't talk about unless they're a little drunk or a little scared. Out in eastern West Virginia, tucked between Berkeley Springs and Hedgesville, there's a place called Sleepy Creek Mountain. You might have driven past it without thinking twice. Just another stretch of forest hills and winding roads. But to the people who've lived there a long time, that mountain carries a warning. They say there's a reason the trees grow thick and twisted, a reason that fog sits heavy, even in summer, a reason your GPS stops working once you hit that old logging road. Because something's still up there, and she remembers every person who tries to disturb her rest. Back in the fall of 1991, 3 college students from Shepherdtown, Rachel, Mark, and Danny, decided to go camping on the mountain. They were outdoorsy types, thought they were smarter than the locals, thought ghost stories were for kids. So when an old man at a gas station told them, "You don't camp up there after dark, not unless you want her to find you," they just laughed. They should have listened. They got to the trailhead around 5 p.m., just as the sun dipped behind the ridge. They hiked with their backpacks, beer, and a little cassette player for music. Their plan was to spend one night out there, roast marshmallows, tell jokes, maybe spook each other. But from the moment they stepped into those woods, something was wrong. No birds, no bugs, not even the usual rustle of squirrels in the brush. Just this strange hush, like the trees were listening. Around 8 p.m., they set up camp on a flat patch near a creek bed. Rachel said she had a weird feeling in her stomach, like she was being watched. Danny joked, probably just the moonshine ghosts. But as night fell, the forest got too quiet. Not peaceful quiet, heavy quiet, like a weight pressing in on them from every side. Then around 10:30, they heard it. A woman humming, faint at first, then clearer. Just a soft, slow tune, like an old lullaby. No footsteps, no snapping branches, just a song floating through the trees. They turned off the music, looked around with their flashlights. Nothing. Danny called out, "Hello? Is someone there?" Silence. Then, the same humming, closer now. Rachel whispered, "That's not funny, you guys." But nobody was laughing. They packed up in a panic, tried to head back the way they came. But every path looked wrong. The trees didn't match. The ground felt too soft, like the mountain was changing underneath them. Mark suddenly froze. "Did you hear that?" This time, it wasn't humming. It was a whisper, a woman's voice, low and sharp. "Leave my mountain." Rachel screamed. They ran. They thought they were headed downhill toward the road, but they ended up back at the creek bed. Their fire had been stumped out. Their tent was gone. Only thing left was 3 sets of footprints and a 4th set, barefoot, circling them in the mud. They didn't sleep that night. They sat back to back, clenching their pocket knives, waiting for dawn, but it didn't come. The sky stayed dark. Their watches said it was 7 a.m., then 9, then noon. But the woods stayed dim, as if the sun had forgotten them. Mark said, "We have to move. We have to get off this mountain." That's when they heard the humming again. Just behind the trees, closer than ever. They ran in 3 different directions. Only Rachel made it out. She was found 2 days later on the shoulder of Route 9, covered in scratches, barefoot, mumbling the same tune over and over. They found no trace of Mark or Danny, not even their boots. Rachel never spoke again. She was sent to a psychiatric hospital in Charleston. The only thing she ever said, scrawled over and over in her notebooks, was, "She watches through the trees, She hums before she takes you. To this day, hikers go missing on Sleepy Creek Mountain. Campers report seeing a barefoot woman with long black hair standing behind trees. But when they shine a light, she's gone. Others say their flashlights die at the same spot. Their phones freeze at 11:11 p.m. And every October, someone swears they hear her lullaby drifting through the hills. Soft, sad, almost sweet. But if you ever hear it, don't follow it. Don't answer her call. And whatever you do, don't stay on that mountain after dark. Because the witch they tried to burn in 1874, she's still there, still waiting. And now, she knows your name. Harpers Ferry, West Virginia is best known for its Civil War history, cobblestone streets, and scenic views. Tourists come for the old battlefields, for the ghost tours, for the charm. But there's one place most guides won't take you. An old railroad tunnel just outside town, built straight through the mountains in the 1800s. Overgrown now, forgotten. Locals call it Dead Man's Tunnel. And they say if you knock twice on the tunnel wall at midnight, something knocks back. The legend starts with a man named Elijah Crane. He worked the B&O Railroad during the Civil War. Mostly night shifts through Harpers Ferry. On a stormy night in 1864, Elijah's train never made it out of the tunnel. They say lightning struck the tracks, sparks lit the coal car, and the whole engine caught fire. When they found it the next day, there was nothing but scorched steel and ash. And Elijah's body? Nowhere to be found. All that remained was his pocket watch, cracked open, still ticking, sitting right on the tunnel's floor, frozen at 12:02 a.m. Fast forward to the 1990s, a group of high school kids from Shepherdstown decided to test the legend for themselves. 4 of them, Kevin, Tanya, Marcus, and Lex, just messing around. They heard the stories, knocked twice, and the ghost of Elijah will knock back. If he likes you, he lets you go. If not, well, nobody finished that part of the story. They went in around 11:40 p.m., flashlights, a tape recorder, one of those old Polaroid cameras. They were laughing, playing around. Lex even brought a speaker and started playing train sounds to spook the others. But the tunnel was wrong. The walls were damp and cold, even though it was June. Their voices didn't echo right. They sounded small, like the tunnel was swallowing their words. Tanya stopped first. There's someone in here with us. They all laughed, but her eyes were wide. Her voice was shaking. I heard boots on gravel behind us. Kevin checked. Nothing. Still the others felt it too. That cold tingle on your neck, like something standing just behind you, breathing slow and steady. At exactly 11:59 p.m., Marcus said, "All right, let's do it." He stepped up to the center wall of the tunnel, raised his hand, knocked twice. Knock, knock, silence. Then, knock, knock. Louder, from deep inside the tunnel. They froze. Then Kevin laughed, nervously. "Okay, cool trick, Lex. You've got the speaker right." Lex held up both hands. "I didn't do anything." A gust of cold wind blew through the tunnel, but the air outside was still. Then, one by one, the flashlights died. That's when they heard it, a whistle, a low, old-time train whistle, and the sound of a steam engine building, louder, closer. But there was no train, just darkness and footsteps, boots, slow, heavy, crunching gravel. Tanya screamed. Marcus ran first. The others followed, except Kevin. He stood frozen, eyes wide, listening to the footsteps stop just inches behind him. He said it felt like someone breathing down his neck. A voice, low, gravely, whispered in his ear, "Next time, knock 3 times." Then he blacked out. They found Kevin the next morning, laying outside the tunnel entrance. His hair was gray, his fingernails were cracked and blackened like he'd crawled his way out. He didn't speak for days. When he finally did, all he said was, "He's still in there, waiting." Since then, no one's dared knock twice, at least not twice in a row. But some say if you listen closely while standing near that tunnel after midnight, you'll hear the slow drag of boots, the sound of distant rails, and sometimes a single knock, then another. And if you ever feel brave enough to knock back, you better pray he likes you, because if Elijah Crane doesn't, you won't make it to morning. If you drive through Preston County, West Virginia, you'll eventually pass a narrow, winding road called Devil's Backbone. Most folks around Terre Alta avoid it after dark, not because of bears or bad pavement, but because of what's been seen walking that road when the moon is high. This is the story of what happened to Erin Holt, a local EMT, in October of 2014, and why she'll never take that route again. Erin was finishing a late night shift at the station just outside Kingwood. It had been a quiet night, no accidents, no calls, just hours of paperwork and the buzz of fluorescent lights. Around 2:15 a.m., she packed up, waved to the night nurse, and climbed into her Jeep. Her usual routine home was under construction, so she took the detour, Devil's Backbone Road. It was a shortcut, but barely. A snake-like stretch through thick forest, no streetlights, no houses, just trees that pressed too close to the road. She'd only driven it twice before, once in daylight, once in the rain, never at night. At first it was fine. Her headlights cut through the fog, music low, coffee still warm in the cup holder. The road curved sharply, then again, then something ran across the road. She hit the brakes hard. Her coffee spilled, the tires skidded, but there was nothing. No deer, no raccoon, no movement in the trees. She waited, breathing heavy, checked the rear view, still nothing. Then, a knock. 3 slow knocks, right on the back window. She spun around. No one was there, just the dark woods and her own reflection in the glass. She sped off. A mile later, her radio fuzzed, a loud burst of static, even though it had been playing music seconds before. Then a voice came through, not the DJ, not a song, just one sentence. "You weren't supposed to stop." The radio cut out. Dead silence. She hit the gas. The road felt longer than it should have. She kept expecting to pass the old gas station where the shortcut ended, but it never came. Just more curves, more fog, trees pressing in tighter, like they were watching her. Then, a figure standing in the middle of the road, tall, still, dressed in black. She swerved, hit the brakes again. The Jeep stalled out. Headlights still on, pointed straight at the thing. But there was nothing there. No figure, no sound. Just the soft hiss of fog brushing the window shield. She turned the key. The engine sputtered. Once, twice, then silence. Her phone had no signal. And then she saw it in the mirror. Something standing behind the Jeep. No face, no feet, just a long black silhouette, almost like it was part of the shadow itself. She locked the doors. It didn't move, but the shadow stretched longer, closer, across the road, across the glass. It reached the window and stopped. And then something whispered, not out loud, but from inside her mind, "Get out." She shut her eyes, started the engine one more time. It roared to life. She floored it, screaming, flying down the road faster than she ever had before. The Jeep bounced, scraped, nearly flipped on the last curve, but then the trees broke. She hit pavement, and the shadow was gone. Erin didn't stop until she reached the Sheetz gas station, 12 miles out. The clerk said she looked pale. Her hands were shaking so hard she dropped her keys. When she told him where she'd just come from, his face changed. "You took Devil's Backbone at night?" She nodded. He swallowed. "They say something follows you if you stop there." Erin reported the incident. The police checked the road, found her tire marks, the skid, the coffee stain, the tree scratches, but no sign of anyone else. No footprints, no radio malfunction, nothing. But something followed her home. She started hearing knocks at her apartment window. 3 knocks, always around 2:30 a.m. Her radio would turn on by itself. Her mirrors fogged up with fingerprints she didn't leave. She moved 6 months later, and she never driven that road again. So if you're ever in Preston County and you see that narrow gravel turnoff marked Devil's Backbone Road, don't take it. But if you do, don't stop. Don't look back. And whatever you do, don't listen to the voice in the fog, because if you do, you won't be driving alone. Just outside of Fayetteville, West Virginia, deep in the woods, near an old logging trail, there's a place locals call Dead Man's Hollow. It doesn't appear on modern maps, but ask the right old-timer at a bar, especially after a drink or two, and you'll get a name and a warning. They'll tell you, that grave doesn't stay shut, and what's in it doesn't like to be disturbed. Back in 1907, a logger named Silas Moore worked those woods. Big man, rough pass, not well liked. He was known for 2 things, his brutal temper and the axe he carried everywhere, even when he wasn't working. One night, Silas didn't come home. 3 days later, they found his body at the bottom of a ravine. Face down, split clean through the back with his own axe. No fingerprints, no blood trails, just Silas, stone cold and stiff, with eyes wide open, like he'd seen something before he died. The sheriff ruled it as an accident. Locals whispered murder, but no one came forward. They buried him on the edge of the forest, just beyond the hollow. A crude wooden cross, no headstone, just a warning carved into the bark of the nearest tree. Do not return what was taken. Fast forward over 100 years later, in the summer of 2019, a group of friends from Charleston went camping in that same patch of forest. 4 of them, college kids, looking for adventure, ghost stories, Instagram posts. They pitched a tent near the base of the hollow. One of them, a guy named Riley, was into urban legends. He read about Silas Monroe, an old form, and was convinced the grave was still out there. On the second night, they found it, a shallow dip in the earth, a piece of rotting wood, and half a rusted axe head sticking out of the dirt like a buried relic. Riley laughed. "Guys, this is it." He took a stick, started digging. That's when the air changed. The woods went silent. No wind, no birds, just a sudden heavy stillness. He pulled the axe head free, held it up like a trophy. Then everything around them turned cold, like the sun had gone out. The others said they heard a low growl, not an animal, not even a bear, but something deep and human coming from under the ground. Riley dropped the axe. They ran back to the tent, laughing nervously, but that night the forest didn't sleep. Around 2:40 a.m., they were woken by footsteps, slow, heavy, dragging something through the leaves, then scratching, not at the tent, on the trees, like someone was carving something into the bark with metal. They peeked outside with their phones. Nothing there. But when morning came, they found deep gouges in every tree around their camp, slashes that spelled one word, return. They left that morning, but the nightmare didn't. Riley took the axe head with him, thought it was a cool souvenir. By the time they reached Charleston, his nose was bleeding. He said he kept hearing footsteps behind him, seeing things in the corner of his eye. Black shapes, flickers, a voice calling his name at night. 3 days later, he disappeared. His roommate came home to an open door, a blood trail, and the smell of wet dirt. They never found Riley, but they found the axe left on his bed and soil, fresh forest soil, scattered all across the carpet. A week later, one of the other campers, Sarah, had a breakdown, said she was being followed by a man with no face, dragging something behind him. The last message she sent before vanishing said, "He's standing in the hallway. I can hear him breathing." She was never seen again. Locals believe Silas Moore was buried alive, or worse, summoned back by something old and dark in those woods. Some say his grave was meant to trap whatever evil had taken hold of him. But when Riley dug it up, he set it free, and now it doesn't rest. It wanders, dragging its axe, crawling at bark, waiting for the next fool to come looking for a drill. So if you're ever in Fayette County and someone offers to show you Dead Man's Hollow, say no, turn around, and don't look back, because once you hear the footsteps, once you see the gouges in the tree, it's already too late. You brought it home. If you ever drive Route 33 through the mountains of West Virginia, especially the stretch between Weston and Franklin, don't pick up hitchhikers at night, no matter how helpless they look, no matter what they say, because some drivers never make it home. And the last thing they see is her. They call her the Black-Eyed Bride, and if you believe the stories, she's been haunting Route 33 for over 50 years. It always starts the same. A lone figure in a wedding dress appears on the side of the road just before the fog rolls in. She doesn't wave, she doesn't cry, she just stands there. White dress torn and dirty, head tilted slightly, like she's listening to something you can't hear. And if you stop, if you pull over, that's when the real story begins. Truckers used to swipe tales about her over coffee at Sheets in Weston. Some laughed it off. Just another roadside ghost. But others, they wouldn't joke, like Danny Fulton, a long-haul driver who disappeared in 2006. He'd called his wife at 2:13 a.m. from somewhere near Bolden. Said he saw a girl in a white, walking barefoot on the shoulder. Thought she was hurt, crying. That was the last time anyone heard from him. They found his rig parked neatly on the side of the road 2 days later. Keys still in the ignition, lights on, door open, and on the inside of the passenger door, 5 long scratch marks, deep and rust-colored, carved straight into the metal. But the most detailed story comes from a man named Greg Warner, who spoke anonymously to a local paranormal blog in 2018. He was driving home from Aikens late one night. Heavy fog, rain spitting on the windshield. It was just after 3 a.m. when he saw her, standing near a turnoff, just past a falling rock sign. At first, he thought she was just a confused girl in a white prom dress. She didn't move when he pulled over. He rolled down the window and asked, "You okay?" She didn't speak, just stared at him with her head tilted. He said there was something off. Her skin was gray pale, her mouth was parted slightly, like she was whispering, and her eyes were pitch black, no whites, no irises, just endless gleaming dark. Before he could drive away, the passenger door unlocked itself. She climbed in without a sound. Greg's voice shook, telling the story. He said the air inside the cab dropped 30 degrees instantly. The smell hit necks, a mix of rainwater, soul, and rotting roses. She didn't look at him, didn't speak, just stared straight ahead, hands folded in her lap like a real bride. He tried to talk. "You need help? Want to call someone?" She turned to face him slowly, then whispered, "He left me. Now I leave them." Then she smiled, and he saw that her teeth were rotted and cracked, but filed to tiny points. Not human. Greg slammed the brakes, screamed, opened the door and jumped out, full speed, rolled down a ditch and ran until his legs gave out. When he returned with the police the next morning, the truck was locked, no sign of forced entry, but on the inside of the windshield, written in smeared dirt, was a single word: stay. They say the black-eyed bride was a real woman, once left at the altar in 1971. She drove off in her wedding dress, crashed on Route 33, and burned alive in a car when no one stopped to help. Now she wanders through the hills, broken, angry, unfinished. She looks for someone to take her hand, to take her home, and when they do, they never leave the mountain. So if you're ever driving Route 33 late at night and you see a woman in white on the roadside, don't stop, don't speak, and whatever you do, don't let her in, because she doesn't need a ride. She needs a replacement.